AITA for telling stepdaughter she's the reason for divorce. Yeah. I'm probably a major asshole here. But let me explain my reasoning. I came into her life 6 years ago when she was 11. Her father is still in her life and visits her frequently at our house. Not a problem though. He's a nice guy. Her mother is not happy. She hasn't been happy for a long time. Her daughter is one of the worst behaved kids I've ever seen. And it stresses my wife. We are not divorced yet. Out every single day. She's made it no secret she hates me. I remember when she was 13 or 14. I paid for us to go to Disneyland as a family vacation. Cliché. I know. She refused to go unless it was just her and her mother. I was hurt. But since the trip was solely to make her happy and was largely paid for already, I went along with it and stayed home. Stuff like that is the norm. She'll demand her mother put her before me, as in excluding me from every family event. And my wife can't put her foot down. She'll treat her mother like a maid and nothing more. It's not my wife's fault. She has emotional issues that make it hard for her. But it's ruined the marriage. Because I've grown to resent coming home to be around my stepdaughter. Anything I do to try to bond with her is met with resentment. Though. She's 17 now. So bonding is probably no longer a possibility. Anyway. My wife and I separated over this. It's just too much for me to bear. But I'm not mad at my wife. I'm sad that she has to put up with her daughter's behavior for the rest of her life. I decided to give my stepdaughter a dose of reality and explain in no uncertain terms she is the reason for our divorce. I didn't do this to spite her. Because frankly I'm ready to move on with my life. I did it so that she understands just how bloody selfish she is. And how much emotional pain she puts her poor mother through. I did it so she doesn't ruin her mother's future relationships like she did ours. She isn't moving out anytime soon. Wife and daughter's father are furious at me for telling their daughter this. Say it's going to emotionally scar her. But quite frankly, I think she needed to be told. AITA Info. How did your stepdaughter react when you told her that? As she always does. A lot of cussing and derogatory slurs. NTA. She's 17. If she goes into the real world acting like she would have gotten the same treatment or worse from someone else. Yes. She may have mental issues going on, but that's not the world's problem. She needs to get help, and her parents have failed her. This was very much how I felt too. As an adult she can't continue to act like this. And her parents will never teach her otherwise. Kind of sounds like you told her that her years-long campaign was successful and she has achieved her objective of getting rid of you. Exactly, and since his declaration made the wife upset too. The wife and daughter will bond over getting the asshole out of the house. I'm guessing the kid was upset in the moment, but will double down on thinking this guy's a dick and will be relieved he is gone. Esh is a stepdaughter. But raising her and disciplining her is on you and your wife. She is spoiled and terrible because you to let her get this way. Nothing is okay here, and I'm truly sorry for everyone involved. Esh. But honestly mostly your wife. You're acting as though she, a grown-ass woman, has no agency in this situation. But she's the adult. She's the parent. And she has had ample time to address this issue and get her kid help. And instead she's just ignored it and hoped it, and what? Hoped it would go away. Deleted. Esh. The kid is a brat. Her mom is the one who failed to raise her. And you're placing blame wrongly and absolutely failed that kid too. The minute you enter in a marriage with a woman and her child, you are part of the kid's life. Parenting becomes your job as well. It is rather normal of an 11-year-old to be bitter her mom remarried. And your behavior reinforced that she could get away with it. Egg. Backing out from Disney instead of going with them? And then you wonder why she thought it was cool to keep excluding you? You're not her victim. And neither is your wife. A person doesn't magically gain life skills when they turn 18, and you both, plus her BO dad, have failed to provide them for her. Esh. Op sucks because he didn't read the family dynamics. Went along with them. and then blamed the product of the dynamics for her behavior. Op's wife sucks because she failed to parent. Maybe she has mental issues, but you don't get a pass on parenting for that. Op's stepdaughter sucks because duh. But she probably sucks the least because she's never known anything different and couldn't be expected to. Most teenagers are assholes. Just par for the course. Gotta grow out of it. You'll need therapy. Like yesterday. Like 7+ years ago. Esh. You can't let this type of behavior go unresolved for 6 years and then solely place the blame on someone who seemingly had no repercussions for this type of behavior. Yes. She's 17 now. But it's unsurprising that she didn't all of a sudden wake up and realize, oh man, I've been a brat. It seems that everyone has taken a passive role to a child with an aggressive approach. She's always hated me isn't a good reason to stand back and do nothing. Every adult with parenting responsibilities failed in this area. Family therapy was made for this sort of thing. Yes. She's always been the main source of contention in this relationship. But ultimately it's the passivity and appropriately dealing with her behavior in a timely fashion that led to the dissolution of the marriage. You cannot solely place the blame on the behavior of a teenager you and your wife and her father have enabled since the beginning of your marriage. This right here. Esh. Esh. She was spoiled her whole life and you gave into that too by paying for the Disney trip. It sounds like her mom is scared of her, so she will just do what her daughter wants, so she can quickly shut her up. And it sounds like she never had respect for you, so your efforts to parent her didn't work. She may be 17 now. But IMHO this mess began when her mom wasn't putting her foot down and teaching her that acting like a brat isn't acceptable. Parents need to learn how to control their kids. I'm leaning towards Esh. The stepdaughter is obviously a selfish brat. But that's down to lack of parenting on wife's part. Did she ever stick up for you when all this behavior was going on? But telling her that she was the reason when her problems are down to lack of discipline on wife's part. Not a wise move. Also, no way would I have stayed at home from a holiday I paid for just because a 13-year-old was having a tantrum. I would have gone regardless. By staying home. You added to her power play. Where was your wife in all of this? My son would never allow that to happen with his daughters. I would even go in as far to say the daughter is the victim here. Bad parenting will now have a terrible effect on her life. Of course she was bratty at 11. Parents getting divorced at that age sucks. She loved her father and got torn away from him. That's terrible emotionally. And they just did nothing. No help for her. No parenting for her. The kid is fucked and doesn't even know it. Esh. I'm sorry but this is your wife's fault too. There might be a reason that it being her fault is understandable and excusable. I disagree but that's up to you. But allowing her daughter to dictate how close you two were kept giving her the power to keep stropping about and making demands. If your stepdaughter deserved to get called out for that behavior then your wife deserves to get called out for perpetuating it. She is the adult. If her inability to raise a daughter isn't her fault then the badly raised daughter is because of who exactly? You sound a bit delusional. Based in caring for your wife. But still. Esh. She sounds terrible. And should have some responsibility and needs to understand the consequences of her actions. However she probably won't in the long run because none is stopping her. I was that stepdaughter. And I was horrible to my stepmom as a teenager. But my dad would sit me down and tell me that it would only hurt me in the end. Because he loved her, so I needed to get my act together and figure it out. We had some alone time. But I learned to build a relationship over the course of 12 years. It's by no means easy, and I ruined a lot of trips by attempting to be selfish. But they were always together and now I feel incredibly happy that my dad is in love. Is it possible to stay with your wife, and would she be willing to put up some boundaries with her daughter? She, your wife, is also an adult and her daughter needs to see this as well, and know that she will have to deal with it. Good luck. Going against the grain here. Esh. depending on your wording. You are probably tar. Also, your wife is tar for not getting the help she needed to raise her daughter right. And your daughter is tar for cussing at you. You should have gotten family therapy. Not going to Disneyland, the trip you booked and paid for, is where you fucked up here. You enabled her. There were life lessons and time for bonding that you missed by not explaining to her that just because she doesn't want you there doesn't mean she gets to dismiss you from your own holiday. With some perseverance she may have come round on the holiday. You enabled her a bit. Esh. The problem was how you and your wife handled parenting her. If she did not want you to go to Disney, then she could have had the choice of not going or going with the both of you. When she disrespected you, your wife should have been punishing her. It would have been helpful for you and your wife to have gone to marriage counseling years ago to be a unified front. Perhaps even family counseling with the child. But bad parenting on both of your parts led you to where you are today. It is not your stepchild's fault that you and your wife could not get it together and parent her. But it's probably easier to just blame the child rather than to look in the mirror. The parents seem to have failed and take no responsibility for how their daughter has been raised. Even going so far as to avoid the necessary counseling. The daughter for sure is an asshole, but it seems like she's a product of her environment, so I put this more on her biological parents. And for you. I mean, I get it has sucked big time for you, dude, but she's just a high school kid. Shoulder took the high road and left with grace. That being said, I can't particularly blame you for putting her on blast, but it still makes you an asshole. This post has a lot of issues that are hotly debated and some obvious bad actors. So it's time to reiterate. #THE civility rule applies to all people in the opus. Do not attack op's ex-wife or op's stepdaughter. If you're unsure if your comment counts as an attack, please see our extensive documentation, https link for many examples of what's okay and what's not okay. As usual, please avoid getting into back and forths with other commenters that end in both of you being uncivil to each other. Please report comments that violate our rules. Don't reply to them. Thanks for understanding. If you enjoyed this video, then hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like to see more future videos.